Let's go back in time. Before VR, it's not that long ago, but a bit further. Before the smartphone, before the internet, before computers. Wait, wasn't this all about websites? Yeah, too late. Before electricity, before the Dark Ages, the Roman Empire, before text or numbers, before language, before humans, before even the dinosaurs. So we're going back to the oldest story of the planet, the story of life. At this point, the landscape was kind of some rocks and I guess liquid drab or something, like nothing was alive. So it's just very, very boring. Nothing was really happening. Or was there? If you remember from chemistry, reactions occur when like the right molecules kind of slam into each other. They're just molecules going around and sometimes they bump into each other and something happens. So there are thousands, hundreds, millions, billions, lots of zeros, molecules drifting around here, but generally not giving much fucks about what's going on. And once in a while, a good pair slams into each other and then a new molecule, something else comes out. And that usually continues not giving much fucks about the rest of the world either. And that continued for, say, a couple millions of years. And at some point, something interesting started to happen. For some reason, the new kind of molecule that came up here, it kind of facilitated the same reaction happening again. So I don't know why, maybe it's a magnetic thing or it just helping reactions happen again in some kind of way. But in any case, there's this thing that makes more things appear. A self-replicating organism, is that what we start calling it now? The point is this just happened. It's random. Just suddenly there's more of the thing, and because the thing makes more of the things, eventually kind of everything turns into these things, these proto-organisms. And they're a bit bigger, so they bump into more stuff, and apparently if this extra bit of stuff kind of hooks into it at the right angle, then it turns into another one of these things that replicates even faster. So after a while, our great drat becomes this proto-organism number 2. And so on and so forth. And it turns out that these tiny little things, let's call them genes, they replicate much better if they have this big complicated structure around them. So it protects them and it helps them duplicate. And at the end, it's still about the right genes, touching each other at the right angle, but we've built this whole machinery around it so that this random bumping into each other happens more often and kind of deliberately. We've built what we call a serendipity vehicle. Right? These reactions are serendipitous, but we've built a vehicle around it so that it happens more. So we drastically increase the chance of serendipity with the right vehicle. Okay, we tackled the origins and the meaning of life, so we're getting a bit closer to building a website. Hopefully you've got a glass of water. In our modern world, there's not much biological evolutioning happening anymore. Most people kind of survive without trying really hard. There's not much evolutionary pressure, so we don't really evolve in a specific direction. But where it does happen is where it mostly happens today is in the layer we've built on top of biology, that is culture, right? We have this capacity to communicate complex thoughts. So we can replicate ideas. And some of our ideas are easier to remember, some of our ideas are easier to share, and some of them are both. So with language, ideas duplicate into the brain of the listener. So when you think about, we can actually apply the same evolutionary thinking that we did to genes, but to ideas. And these are memes. So memes are not the internet pictures, but they're ideas in general. Like red being a dangerous color, that's a meme. Language is a meme, it's an idea that spreads. And your identity, or at least how you're known, is a meme. Who here has experienced serendipity before? I don't see everyone, but I see a lot of hands, so nice. So where something, something great just happened, right? The right molecules bumped into each other, literally or figuratively. The right memes got exposed to each other and got exploded into this like beautiful burst of insight, right? So I hope you're starting to see the dots here approaching each other, about to collide. So remember how we talked about the serendipity vehicle? It takes the genes and makes them collide more with each other, so more powerful serendipitous moments happen. If you want more magic coincidences in life, you have to build a serendipity vehicle. Something that takes your ideas, that takes your memes, and that gives them the chance to collide and interact and create new beautiful things out of pure luck and randomness. So this is what happens when you put yourself out there. When you shout from the rooftops who you are. When you start writing, speaking, creating. This is why you need a website. So welcome. Welcome to this call. We are building a website together today. Let's start with a bit of housekeeping. My goals today are I want to motivate you. I want to make you minimally viably competent to start doing this. And I want to kind of give you a clear path to start building your website. I hope I understood well what your challenges are. So let's do that. This session, it won't be that much technical. At the end, we'll really go into the technical part, but I will leave most of that as homework for you. And then over the next week or next week for the next call, we can go over it together and look really into more details. I will have moments for specific questions and answers, but if there's something that's not clear, like please interrupt me. I'm cursed with the curse of knowledge. I've been building websites for 19 years, so sometimes it's kind of hard for me to imagine what it's like being a beginner. I've helped people here and there with it, but yeah, and I don't know how far you guys are. So yeah, please, if you don't understand anything, interrupt me and I will have moments for actual questions. So why build a website? We kind of went over it a little bit. What I heard from you guys are I want to show who I am. I want to show my personality. I want to show the work that I do, and maybe I want to sell some stuff. I'm reading this book recently called Show Your Work. It's, if you're into like sharing or a bit thinking about it, like read it. It's really, really good. So the reasons you guys are listed for building a website, they're the best reasons. So perfect. You guys are doing very well. Because if your work isn't online these days, it doesn't exist, right? This internet thing, it's not just ones and zeros. It's your life. The world runs on the internet. So like imagine if your next boss didn't have to read your resume because he just reads your blog. Imagine that you're a student, but you get your first gig because something you posted online, you posted a school project and someone saw it and was like, this person is interesting. Right? Imagine losing your job and having a social circle of people who know who you are and what you're into all around the world who can help you find a new thing. So this is this thing, if you start putting yourself out there, if people know who you are and what you're doing, just things happen. Things start happening. Like every time I did an interview on a job, then I was just pre-approved, right? Because the people saw the website, they're like, well, this is interesting. What are you doing there? What are you doing there? So people like picked the interesting parts of what they found about me on the internet. And we always had an interesting discussion because they take what they find interesting. I publish what I find interesting, and beauty. So today, let's start making this achievable, because what I heard from you guys is that it's sometimes a bit overwhelming. Like I'm at the website, and then there's like these pages and these pages and this page, and there's all this stuff I need to do, and then there's 20, 30 different tools to use, and I don't know where to start, and I want to, you need the blog, and you need the sales, and or the email, and the picture, and I don't know, the layout, and right? I hope I'm capturing your sentiment well. So I'll start by sharing you what my first site looked like. Yeah, Gus, you said in 5 minutes, but it's more than 5 minutes, Ceci.
Sorry about
Okay,
that, everyone.
that's okay. That's okay. We started. Wait, I was doing this. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, my screen is red because I guess you saw this already. Um, this was my first website. Uh, Luckily, it gets better. This is the second website. This is very cool. Actually, I'll zoom in a bit. It's a chatbot. You can ask it questions, and then it gives you an answer. It's like, how are you doing? I said, super. Who are you? I'm Compu. Compu the computer, right? So I think the point I want to make here is just start. You can change it afterwards. We are living in this digital world, and the way we do work is fundamentally different from what we did before. We have the ability to change things after we start creating them. And so now that is also becoming the best way to do things. You just make something, you decide what you want of it now, you make your shitty first draft, if you remember from Thales's last call. You make a shitty first draft, you do something with it, and then afterward you change your mind and you change it again. Right? So just a bit more history. This is a tool I built for learning your French verbs. That's cool. It's very hard because you have to translate, and you have the tense, and then you have like the form of the tense, but it checks it. It was really cool. It really helped me a lot. I got lazy at some point. This is just a picture. This is one of the websites I built for a customer of mine, Hilde. She tells stories. It's custom built, pretty simple. I'm not super proud of it, but it's okay. It's okay. It's clear. Everything is on there. She wanted everything to be green, so it's green. Perfect. This is another website for another customer, which actually they built mostly. I taught them to use WordPress. This is WordPress. I went over there, took some, this is one of the pictures I took for them. This was the last website I built myself, like last year or something. It looks pretty fancy, but actually it's very, very simple in terms of coding. Like if you can code, or if you want to try and learn it, just do it. It's really not that hard, I think. And this is what my website looks like right now. It's a WordPress site. I don't know, I kind of go back and forth between building my own and then using WordPress, so I might change it very soon. Anyways, that's a bit of my history of building websites. So, but just remember here, you don't have to be a genius to do this. We're all amateurs. So just, find your thing, start shouting, and then change it afterwards. You don't need to know everything before you start building the site. I barely knew anything when I built my first site. They're just like, my dad types half of the things and I type another half of the things, and I make a mistake and he fixes it, and yeah, it works out in the end. So switch your learning from just in case to just in time. If you're overwhelmed with all these things I need to do, just learn just enough to need to take the next step, and then you can see where you get blocked, and then you can go back to learning and get back to building. Do I want to do? Yeah, let's do it. So another example of just-in-time things is this note, my preparation for this call. I just created a note and I pasted in my message, I pasted in your responses, and just over the course of weeks, this totally changed. I added some things here. I had like a brainstorm. I want to do this, maybe this, like a copying in a couple of frameworks, trying to fill this in, and things go up and down and move around, and it looks maybe unstructured, but like the structure comes as you go. So this is mirrored. Wow, this is very interesting. Is this mirrored? No, right? Or is it
No,
for
we
me
can
only?
see it correctly.
You can see it correctly, okay? Because I just looked at my screen. It's, yeah. Thank you, Zoom. So this is like just-in-time note taking. I use just enough structure to make it work, and I change it when it needs to change. Right? This is I didn't talk about this graph, whatever. Let's continue. So your structure, your features, and the purpose of what you're doing can change. Even when in my day job in software development, this is like the way we work. We do agile, which means every 2 weeks we decide what the next 2 weeks, what we are going to build the next 2 weeks. So refactoring is a very big part of our work. We just like, this is the next important feature within 2 weeks, so we will build it. And then after 2 weeks, we might decide we don't want it, or we want something else, or because we don't know. And so rebuilding your application is kind of a big part of your work, and it's totally okay. And in fact, it's probably the best way to do it. So that was module 1, which I titled Introduction again. Yeah, Introduction. Now let's go to module 2, Design. So why design? I guess maybe obvious. Design is the most important part of your site. It's visual. It's why I prefer making websites over other backend programming where you don't see the results, because you can like show it to people, right? So you want to make something that people enjoy watching and that makes people click, both in their head and literally on the buttons that there are on the site. So if you design it well, it makes you understood, right? And people get interested. If you do it well, but this is a lot of skills that get together, right? It's copywriting, it's photography, it's writing, it's structuring. So people get interested in what you're doing personally and who you are, what your career is, what the work that you've built. And that's kind of one of the main goals of building a website, right? And if you want to sell things, people will buy it because you have a beautiful website. So when we are building our websites, I think a really good way to approach it is by starting like reverse engineering your website. And I call it purpose-driven design. If you know programming, there's test-driven design, which means you write a test-driven development. You write a test, then the test fails, you write code so the test doesn't fail anymore, and then you go back to writing the next test. In this case, it's very similar, like purpose-driven development. You start with the purpose, your shitty first purpose, you backtrack that to build an actual website, kind of see, is it fulfilling the purpose? And then you might change the site or you might change the purpose, right? So when I look at other websites or like even like my job right now, people are wanting to building new features. The main problem I see is clarity. And so I feel like, because we all think like design is fanciness and animations and making the thing spin and zoom in and the buttons that change the colors. But really it's all about clarity. You really want your thing to be understood. So when I see something that I feel like this doesn't make sense in terms of interface, I don't go changing the color. I go asking, what is it that you really want? And most of the time you really see that people are like, and once they realize, it's a lot easier to actually start designing what you want, because you know what you want, right? So create your city first purpose draft, and yeah, you don't really know it until you start doing it, until you start using it. So write it and then change it afterwards. One of the main ways we do this in applications is we write what we call user stories, and we go into the role of someone who is using the application, and we think about who are they, what are their motivations, what do they want, why are they visiting this application. and we go trace out a path of what they might do. Like they might look at this, they might think, oh, this is interesting. I'll go click here, or I'll do this there, and I'll do this there. And by having this in mind as a story, it really helps you understand and feel like, is this the good way to structure my information? Is this understandable by those people? Because you know who they are, what they're looking for, what they feel. I'm going to give you an exercise now to write down your visitor stories. So to take a while and think about, like, what do I want my site to be? What do I want the purpose of it to be? And then to think about a couple types of people who might start visiting your website. So maybe it's just a random dude who's like, ah, it looks interesting what they're doing, or I want to know more about what they make, or who they are, or I'm recruiting them, so let's see if they're not evil or something. Is that clear to you all? This visitor stories? Yes? Can I, maybe I can see all of you. Yeah? Okay, so I will give you 5 minutes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That's professional.
Wow. Can I just stare at the screen for like 5 minutes?
Make sure it doesn't skip any seconds. We're almost halfway down. How are you guys doing? Still working?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good.
Marcel? Oh, okay.
See?
Yeah, no, okay, okay.
Seconds. Welcome! Welcome back. How was that? Did you learn anything about yourself? Is there anyone who wants to share one or multiple of their visitor stories? Just start shouting. Or not, yeah, sick.
I think I can share.
Okay, go.
I think I had it more clear than I thought I did. I was like, I have no clue, and then it just was flowing. So first, I was like, who do I want to visit my site? And then I didn't feel aligned with it, so I was like, okay, what do I want out of the site? And then I was like, okay, I want it to be my portfolio and a repository for my accomplishments in life. Like, I realized I no longer wanted to be like a sales point website kind of thing. I wanted to have my personal touch and stamp a touch of what makes me me. So like the blend between productivity, design, and decluttering. And I want that space, then I got a little bit crazy, to be like first a space for my creative expression and then an accountability site for myself to hold me to value, to love, and to appreciate what I've created and what I'm working on. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, nice. Does that resonate with you guys? Just nod or yeah. I think that's indeed what most people are looking for, right? Just showing their personality and showing their work. I would also suggest like don't hold back of publishing your work in progress, because we are humans and we want to connect with other humans. And so it's often very interesting to just see what other people are interested in. Like if I like Valentina, I want to know what she's reading about for productivity stuff, not only the things like she made like a Notion template spec, but maybe the book she read to get there, or the movies or the articles she read. Those are also very interesting things. But that's maybe not perfect for publishing on your site. Maybe that's more a social media thing. Enfin, up to you. Your website is like, it's kind of the last place on the internet that is truly your own, that you can control, that you have the address, right? It's your name that's on there. You can do whatever you want with it. Okay. So now that we kind of know what the website should do, why we want it to be there, what we want people to see, what they're looking at it, we can start looking at the design and how are we actually going to do this. I wrote down a couple of fundamentals, so I might probably start showing it here. So first one I wrote down is beauty can be seen from far away. Thank you, Spotlighter. So what I said before about design being mostly about clarity, one of the big things we do in graphic design is like the squint tests, which means like you kind of close your eyes and see it in a very blurry way, or go look at it, go step away from your design, like artists do this too, like to see if the proportions and everything makes sense. So when designing a website, the first thing I do is I draw a wireframe. So if you don't know what a wireframe is, it's just a very, very simple thing that kind of shows the structure of it. And the key here is to do it with a very fat marker so that it's okay that it looks like shit. So you're just like, yeah, we have like this little square thing, and then maybe like a title here and some like menu items, and maybe I want a picture of myself here. Like, it's my name, and then maybe like some text, voila, and then maybe some more pictures. Right? That was my website that I showed before. Pictures, picture. Right? So this is very shitty. But you're looking at it from far away here, and you kind of see if the proportions of it make sense. And this really helps you because you can start feeling what your eye gets drawn to. Right? We're all Western people. We have text that goes from left to right. So we are very used to looking at things from top to bottom, read from top to bottom, and read from left to right. That is true-ish for websites. Like we we mostly read in this F pattern like this. But on the website, your eye can kind of jump around. For example, if I would make like this, like a little blue button, then you're probably gonna see the picture first, and then you might look at the blue button what it says, right? So your eye kind of jumps around on a website. So what I just showed here of the color, like feel free to play around with it, and also pay attention to how you are using color and how much you are using it. Right? If everything is black and white and there's one blue thing, this is the first thing you're going to look at. Right? And so that brings me to visual hierarchy, which is this idea of, when you're telling a story, when you're watching a movie, when you're doing a series, when you're whatever, that has a timeline. You start reading at the start and you go until the end. So it's very clear what you will see first and what you will see later. For a website, this is not the case at all. The people who are looking at the site, they can go anywhere whenever they want. So you need to kind of build this in your design. And so this is why I had the visitor stories. You can think about it in even more detail, right? When you, let's say someone is looking at my site and he's interested, he comes from, I don't know, he saw some pictures that I took, so he's interested in that. So he'll probably go in here and I like see this, and then we'll be more interested in the pictures below. So I kind of have these right here. If I would have put these pictures underneath here and you wouldn't see them immediately, then this person who has very little attention span might just leave because he didn't see the pictures, which is what he was looking for. So, and another person might be more interested in, I don't know, if I have a newsletter and there's a blue button, then he goes to my site and he sees, there's a blue thing, there's a newsletter, that's maybe interesting. And so when you're thinking about the things that are on the website, think about what is the most important thing to see, what is less important to see, and kind of give them a hierarchy. And then with visual elements, you can put this hierarchy, you can make it visual. So bigger things get seen first. If it's bold, it gets seen sooner. If it's colored in an accent color, it gets seen sooner. Also, space between things makes a huge difference. Let's say if I remove this space here, you will very quickly go from the picture here to these pictures here. Whereas if I add some more text here, then you might first go and read this paragraph. So space between things also helps accentuate specific elements. Now, don't go overboard. This is like a designer joke is, I want to make everything pop. If your customer tells you like, it should all be important, everything is important, I want to see all of it, then you're like, that it doesn't work. You can put everything, you can put every page in different color, which Cassidy has shown so well. But that distracts you a bit because you're kind of confused every time you go on something and you're like, does this mean this is more important or less important? And your brain is trying to figure out what the structure of everything is and how it all relates to each other. So like use color sparingly. There's this one guy who you can hire him and he gets drunk and then he films himself while he's visiting your website. It's like, welcome in the 21st century. Imagine if that's your job. But actually people hire him because it's so useful. And like this is a principle that we use in website and application design. Like the user is drunk or the user is stupid, or so I know we shouldn't talk badly about people, but still. Actually, it's more like people don't have attention. By accident they came on your website. They're hungry. There are lots of interesting things to see on TikTok, and so it's like, yeah, I want to keep them here for more than 2 seconds, right? That's how they build sites so suitable for me. Yes, fella. Dallas understood. So this is like, so when I'm working on visual design or user interface design, I'm always thinking like, I'm pretending I'm like the dumbest person on the planet. I'm just like, I don't understand this. And like my customers get very annoyed at it, but in the end, it gets you to a much better product because you want it to be insanely obvious because people are drunk and they're stupid. Not really, but yeah. Okay. Another key point of design is, I would call it rhythm. It kind of, or you can think of it as consistency as well. But I think rhythm kind of captures it. If you've been to music, you know that we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. It's very consistent. It starts over and over and over every time again. And so you get into the music, and it gives you like a base of calm, and then that helps you notice what the accents are, what the more interesting parts of the thing are. So you want this to be there in your design too. If you have like, if you make a website like this, and you maybe have like you have one section that shows some text here and a button here and a picture here, and then you have another one that's kind of a button here and then some text here, and then you have another one that's a button here, and this is super confusing. Like the one thing is bigger than the other thing, and it's like what's going on here? I don't understand. So really simplify it, make everything the same. Because this also helps you like reduce your workload of the work you need to build something nice. Just simplify it, try to make it very consistent, like step 1, step 2, step 3, very clear for people. So consistency is very important. Okay, so we had at the F principle, like which way are people looking at the thing. We have consistency, which for me is extremely important. I think about this all the time. This is one of my struggles with some website building tools. Okay, make it consistent. If it's bigger, it's important. If it's colored, it's important. If it's first, it's important. If there's white space before it, it's also important. Reduce the choices there are, visually or literally. Like, don't give people too many options, because they want to see all of them at the same time, and that gets difficult. Maybe a few more things on typography, because I'm a typography geek. This is very detailed design, but okay. So there's this thing, like you have a line of text and you have another line of text. The distance between that is your line height. You want this to be 1.4 or 1.5 times the height of your actual text. You want the width of your thing to be like 2 alphabets. So let's say like about 50 characters. And this is the optimal distances for making things legible. I'm saying this because I get frustrated by seeing everyone's Word documents that are super, like, that are twice as wide as they should be. Like, and you're starting to read it and you're like getting over half, and then you're like, fuck, where's the next line? I don't know. You have to like go back and then go down and then the next line. So like really make your text narrow. On a mobile phone it's fine. On the computer it's not. So you really make sure that your text is legible. Stretch your window, see if it works for all kinds of devices. That is wireframes. Does that kind of make sense to you? Yes? Okay, good. I see yes.
I just I got confused a bit about the line height and like the width. Um, I suppose like there are two different things. First of all, that the line height has to be 1.4 to 1.5, like
Yeah.
the width of the.
Maybe I share my screen and just show it on the website. It's maybe easier. No, I want this one.
Is it only for me that the website is a little bit not too sharp, or is it just
Probably
my
that's because
my
of the
laptop?
fancy video things that the countdown and stuff that's making everything shitty.
Okay, okay.
I don't know if I can change it. I'll have to look into later. So I can show you like a live demo. This is pretty well spaced. So if you would count the words, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, like 14, 15 words. That's like about perfect. Like 12 to 15 words in a line. If there is more than this, let's see if I can change this. Where did I do it? This? No. Wait. How did I do this? Ah, whoa. Damn, I impressed myself. Okay, there we go. So
Okay.
this is when it's too wide, because you're reading this, you're reading this, you're reading this, you're reading this, and then you're at the end, and it's so difficult to find where you were on the right side of the page to be able to go back on the left side. Like right here it's okay because there's just 2 lines. But if it's a block of text, then this gets overwhelming very quickly.
Yeah.
And then the other thing of the line height, if I, so now it's 1.4. If I just change it to 1, then this text is very, very bunched up, right?
Yeah.
And if you would change it to 2, that gets, yeah, that's just start getting hard to read again. So there's kind of this balance for those things.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yep. Thank you.
This. Okay, so we can kind of start using our little visitor stories, and we can start building wireframes based on one or each of those visitor stories. And that kind of gets us to what we would start to want our website to look like. Now, I would tell you, because you probably have a lot of ideas for the thing, let's scope it down. Let's start with our minimum viable product, minimum viable website. Just pick one of the visitor stories, one of the things, one of the purposes of your website, and like start working from that. Use that to build a wireframe. Use that to build like roughly what you want your site to look like. Right? So everything can be added later. Choose quickly and change things. So launch, just launch this container now. Launch this starting point, and you can add value incrementally later. Okay. So next exercise is like pick one of the purposes or of the stories that you've been, and try out like a little wireframe. Draw out a couple of them. Just brainstorm with a little layouts. Like, do you want a picture of yourself to be there, like mine, in a little circle in the center, or maybe on the side, or maybe a big picture and a little card in the center. Just kind of brainstorm a little bit and think of some ideas, and keep in mind what you want the visitor to do. Do you want the person to be interested in what you're doing? Do you want the person to click through to a blog? Do you want the person to start to learn more and maybe buy something? Okay? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. welcome back. Hey, hey, hey. Nice. How did that work out? Anyone who wants to share their story or stories and their wireframe? If you can share it. Tanya, go. And then
Thank
Cassidy.
you so much. So I did the first trial,
Mm-hmm.
this one, and then I figured out like I want to present what I do. Like I'm speaker, recruiter, and just a good person.
Yeah.
I figure out that I can't really give all of those three just to people. Like it doesn't make sense. So I decided to move into like hierarchy, like
Yeah.
first recruiter, then speaker, and then like good networker, and presented. And the first version made a lot of sense in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Then I put it in paper. I'm like, no, no. Then I need to change it, and it took me like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
But if not for this exercise, I would go to the website and first build it, make it
Yeah.
perfect, and then figure out like what I've done.
Yep. Yeah, that's the power of like using paper, because it just iterates so quickly. I have a book I use for designing everything, even like slides or something, because just you do 3 things in 5 seconds, and then nice takeaway. I would say having 3 things next to each other, it doesn't sound too bad to me. I guess it depends on like which people you expect would come and see it. Like if there's one that really comes there all the time and the other one are less important, then you can reflect it in your design. If you really feel like, it's really like 33% each, then it might be more interesting to have those 3 things next to each other. Because if you have them next to each other, then they show up above the fold probably. The fold is the point where you need to start scrolling. So that might be something to consider as well. If someone doesn't see like you're a good person because it's the bottom one, then maybe you don't like that they would miss it. So, but yeah, just draw it out and see what feels best. That's a very good thing. Cassidy, show us.
I'm not like the visual like one thing I didn't quite do, but I was creating all the things. So this is the website that will be for my booking speaking engagements. And so I was looking at Vision's website, and he has like a really good he has a lot going on, obviously.
A Vision personally, I've never seen this.
Vision.com is really good. What I was kind of looking at. So the front page would be book me to speak, and then kind of below that would be either like some of the just about me, about my speaking, even possible topics. And then at the bottom would also be another like reminder of like pressing the button to book to speak, and then just having the tabs up top being the first page I think is just going to be speaking. I know he has my story, but I think I would put my story in a different tab. So I would have my story, possibly projects or like programs, so that people know like what type of programs I hold. Press, which I have like I have this article might be written about me soon. So press,
cool,
books, and then contact. And then each of those would have its own structure, which I was like kind of putting together too. But yeah, that would be the main focus is booking to speak. Someone who is having an event wants a speaker, and that would be the person who's coming, or even the other person that would be coming to the website would be someone who's checking me out. Out of like the I Am Bold Mastermind, I'm going to start holding in April. So that was
nice.
Framework.
Cool. Some ideas from that one that I just want to reiterate for teaching to the rest. Your point of having another reminder at the bottom that you said, so this call to action, that's a very very good one, right? Some people like if you try to find out a call to action for you, maybe it's like subscribe to the newsletter or watch my video or read my thing or book me or contact me or whatever. Some people will come to your website with the idea of, I just want her to come on and speak at my thing. So like provide a button right at the top for those people. But some people don't know yet, and they are going to read your thing first, and then you want it to be there at the bottom ready for them too. So like try and imagine what someone is thinking when they're going through the site, and at one point they might need extra support or a little push to make them move in the direction that you want to.
Cool.
And the other thing where you were talking about the different tabs on there, if you like, even if someone is not visiting those pages, it shows that you do a lot of things and it shows what you are doing. So it could be worthwhile to think about just the things that are there at the top, because those are the things that catch your eye. You're not explicitly reading it, but even if you're scrolling past it, you saw that, oh, she has programs, right? So if you never put down that there, if you put it at the bottom only, then half of the people would never know. So even if they don't click it, so that's also a good one to remember.
Cool. Thanks.
Cool. So some little other do's and don'ts. Don't try to be too fancy. We're trying to build something here. Otherwise it's never going to get done. Also, but we'll see this kind of later, because now we really have the paper and we're doing the wireframe. There's a big reason why I'm not asking you to go very deep into the design. That is because if you are actually going to implement a thing, then you will likely use a template unless you decide to write your own thing, but which takes a lot of time. So if you have a template, then it's usually, in my experience, it's very easy to fuck it up and make something ugly out of it. So like one of the big rules of templates is kind of surrender to the templates. Pick something that you like reasonably well and you're like, this is okay, and then just kind of go with it and don't try to mingle with it too much. I know there was one customer where we started on Squarespace and we were building the thing, and Squarespace you can kind of change things, but you can change things that you don't want to change. Like it's very easy to put text in red, but then it's like, yeah, this menu is a little bit too small, or I want this item to be a bit bigger, and that took me like half a day to then to start hacking that together. And so, this was me before I had actual job, but this, I'd ask quite a bit of money because it's like this freelance thing, and I'm like, yeah, sorry, I'm just taking so much time for such a little thing. And they're like, yeah, but I want it like this. And so eventually we decided to just build the website from scratch, because then you had much more options, but then you need the time and the skills to actually code a website. So the example of the customer I showed you that was in WordPress, there I really told them, like, pick your template and don't try to change it too much. You can change a font, maybe like a color here and there, but honestly, that's about it. And even if you can change a lot, it gets messy very quickly. If you have these visual builders with the things you can drag around and stuff, like, because this consistency and this rhythm is so important, with these visual builders we have that you can drag around one thing, just one pixel wrong, and then it's all like, it should be a straight line, but it actually ends up being something like this. And you're like, oh no, please don't. So most of the time you're just like, let's just not touch it that much, and then it'll end up fine. It'll look a bit bland and generic, but at least it's neat, right? Okay, let's go to module 3, developing. So I have a quote here from Andy Bio, who's a blogger, I think a CTO from Kickstarter. He says, carving out the space for yourself online, somewhere where you can express yourself and share your work, is still one of the best possible investments you can make with your time. So you're here. This is the part where the rubber hits the road. We know what our purpose is. We know kind of what we want to build. But now this is like the actual work, right? This is probably what you all thought of before we started this call. Like, this is the work, like the coding and the dragging and the typing, everything. So this is, I feel like, where people struggle a lot, or where they think they will struggle at least. So this is also where your growth is going to be. This is where your skills are going to grow. And this also teaches you clarity, because a lot of these things is figuring out. It teaches you structure, because so much of this and coding and development is making something well structured. And time management, because sometimes things take a lot longer than you would hope for, and then you have to choose whether you want to continue doing it or just pick another idea and go with that. So maybe a little bit, what is a website? There's this thing called a domain name, and then there's hosting, which are two different things. But if you don't if you never built a website, you don't know the difference between these things. You have the domain name it's like your address, and the hosting is like your house. So your domain name will be the thing is the name, and that's the thing that people type in the address bar. So marcelsamin.com. Start with that. Just start with your name.com, and it's cheap, it's fine, it works. You don't have to think too much about it. Or like, was it shits.me what the sauce things was? Everything works, right? Domain names are pretty cheap, so it's fun.
At least it's free. At least it's free.
Oh, so your domain name is literally just the name. Those are very cheap. It's like 20 euros a year or something. But then to actually have something on the site to show to people, you need what we call hosting. Basically what hosting is, you're using someone else's computer, and so you're telling the internet, when you go to marcel.com, then you need to check out this computer, and then so the person who's visiting your site is like, Marcel, this computer, hey, can you send me the website? And then the computer sends back the website. So, but you need like a computer on the other side to do it. You could actually do it with your own computer, but that's a bit annoying with how the residential internet is set up. But you can do it. You can host your websites on your own computer, and that's actually how it was at the start of the internet, before it all got all corporate and stuff. But okay, cool. So how do you start doing this? So the domain name, that's easy. You just register it, and then you need to do the hosting. Do I know GoDaddy? And if they say start your website for free, is that host? I think so. So I think the GoDaddy thing will, I haven't looked into it, but it sounds like it's going to be a domain name and hosting, because I think they do like a very simple website builder, but they were originally only for domains. So if you want to build a website, you can code it yourself. Actually, I think I had made a video on how to code a website, which it might be in a Notion, but it's, let me see if I can find it. How to make a website in 30 seconds. Yes, that's it. You're all going to be blown away by this. Screen share. So a website is just a piece of text. So you open your text file. It should be plain text, no fancy stuff. You type in what you want to have on the website, and then you misspell, and then you correct your spelling, and then you save it as a file that ends on HTML, and then you go that file, website.html, you open it, and voila, there you go. This is your website. So you've now successfully coded your own first website. Congratulations. Ta-da, magic. So you say it's not that hard to code this stuff, right? It's all like non-compliant, and people like the internet will be angry that you're not doing it correctly, but it works. There are some tools that help you do it, like the website I showed you of mine, that I built myself, that I have a little tool that takes it takes the header and it automatically copy pastes it to every page, because otherwise you have to copy paste it yourself. That's pretty annoying. Then the most popular way of building websites is WordPress. Like, I think 23% of the internet literally is WordPress. So that's like an insane amount. It's free software, it's open source. It's kind of focused around blogging, so that's very well built into the flow and the software, but you can do anything with it. There's also a gazillion plugins that let you do anything. There's other programs, content management systems like WordPress. They're like Drupal and Joomla are popular. They're a bit less blog focused. They're a bit more page focused. I don't like them that much. Then there are tools that help you like visually build an application, there is, if you just want a simple, I'll show you. If you want a simple website, just one page, then I would suggest Cars, which is like, this is so, you go to the thing, you say starting points, and you're like, okay, what do I want my site to look like? This one is pretty cool. I select it, and then you upload an image. I don't know what this is gonna end up as. Okay, image too large. Yeah, perfect. Except, right, you can change the text here. You can, okay, this is a bunch of images. Maybe if you want, you can add like a little timer. Right, but so this is like a one-page thing. This is a website builder. So what you just saw is the, yeah, thank you, Dallas. What you see is this, you have a little blocks and you can kind of drag them around, and I don't know if I can do this or if it'll just break. Yeah, see how easy it is to make things ugly. Like, this is, surrender to the template. Surrender to the template. But card is something like, if you want to get something off the ground very quickly, this is so easy. It's one page. But there are a lot of other tools that have the same thing but help you build more of a bigger website and multiple parts. So in WordPress, there's a few tools. I'll name them, whatever. And there are also visual builders, which I had to think about, Valentina, when I saw this. So there's framer.com. And so this kind of, it looks a lot like Photoshop, which is kind of cool. So you have like your little square with the website, and then you have little, you can say insert, I don't know, insert this kind of layout, and then you can kind of drag it around anywhere. So this is extremely visual, but again, easy to fuck up, because if you just like miss this like few pixels there, then the zooming works very badly. Yeah, so if you really feel like I want to literally translate my wireframe into an actual thing, then this might be good. I don't know if it gives you like the right type of freedom that you would want to, personally. That's how I feel about it.
What was that website?
Okay. Framer, Farmer.com.
Thank you.
Yeah. And the Webflow is another one that is actually the same. I don't know why it looks like extremely similar. So Webflow, Webflow. So yeah, I told you before the story about what's it called, Squarespace, and then changing my mind to building it myself. I personally, for my own stuff, I kind of flip around between, WordPress, it's so easy to get started to something, and then coding myself, like I can actually do what I want, and WordPress is so big and slow, and like, kind of don't like how everything is slow because of WordPress. But anyways, I think if you don't know how, like what tool to start using for a website, just pick WordPress. Like, everyone uses it. Like, there's a lot of knowledge out there. There's a lot of tutorials out there. There's a lot of themes out there. You can do pretty much anything with it. It's a bit of a learning curve to get used to the whole interface, but you can start pretty simply. And then if you don't have anything and you want to start with WordPress, you want to go to wordpress.com, which is a place where so WordPress.org is the actual software, and WordPress.com is a service around it that hosts it, and it's pretty cheap. It's like €4 a month. So that's like, you won't find much cheaper websites than this, because that includes the ability to use your own domain name. And so something that they've been working on since like a few years is this theme editor. I think it'll be kind of slow here, but okay. I was playing around with this. So this is like your website, and you have these blocks here. So if you just want to like design your page, I have this header already here, but maybe I want something like, there's so many good examples here. Like, I drag this stuff in, hop, it's there. You can change the texts, change these images. And so this stuff is now built into WordPress, which is, for a long time it wasn't. So this allows you to pick a very simple template and kind of drag and arrange some blocks. So this will help you build something that kind of corresponds to what you built in your wireframe, because like half of it, or 99% of it probably, already exists here in one of these examples. I feel like I'm going a bit fast at this point because this is the technical part where I'm very used to it. So yeah, tell me if this, what is on point? You can speak. It's the speed is perfect. Okay, nice. So yeah, because I mean, I can go in here in much detail, but I think most of it is kind of, you just start using it and playing around with it. It's obvious-ish, I think. So I would recommend you go to WordPress.com, create an account. You can start for free, and you start dragging things together. Maybe something to help you understand how this whole thing works. So there is, like, now we were working on the site, which I think is the homepage, but there are templates on the site. I hope you can read this. And this shows all kinds of templates. So there are different types of pages. I have a homepage. I have, for example, this single one. If I would open this shows a post. So if I make a blog post, it will end up in this template. So I can say like, okay, above my blog post, I want here to be like an image. So I do plus and then do, I don't know, image. And then post featured images. And then you drag it on top of there. And now we have the same image twice because, of course. You will want to use the list view here on the side a lot, because that shows you how things are structured and nested into each other. Because once you start dragging stuff around, it gets easy to lose like sight of, wait, why is the title over here and then the content over there, and then so this kind of helps you figure out where stuff is, and you can drag things around. So this is more of the structure of it. Well, this is how it would look like visually. So that's the list view you want to pay attention to, the different types of templates that you have. Another thing I want to point you towards is this button on the top. I'm pointing at it literally, but this point on the top right called styles. And this helps you create how it looks like from a general point of view. So you can go into every of these things, go to the settings and then change the color of something. But this makes it too easy to lose your consistency because you only did it in one place, and then all the other places it's just wrong, right? So what you want to do instead is you want to go to this styles here, and there you can say, what is my palette? What is my background color? I want to make it a bit more gray. Nice. Let's change the default color of text, make it actual black instead of a bit gray. Links, I don't want to be blue, I want them to be green. And so all of this stuff then changes everywhere at once, and this helps you keep everything consistent. Okay. I'm kind of looking at the comments here. Yeah, Wix. I've never used Wix. I feel like the feeling is not right for me or something. I get into Wix and I'm like, I don't like it. But yeah, like try it out. You can try it, but don't try too many things. Most of the things are very, very similar. So like pick something and just start building. Like Valentina uses Wix, so it works. That's all you need to know. What else did I want to talk to you about? Okay, yeah, so we have the templates, we have the design, styles.
Can you give us a summary, like, bullet points of every single model and just the flow?
What do you mean, model?
Yeah, it's like, you started with the first one because there are people who missed the first part. And then, remind us of the second one, and now, sum it up.
Module.
Yeah,
yes,
module.
Okay, yeah. So for the people who came in later, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And yeah, and for us to wrap the whole idea into the
Yes, yes. Okay, so we started today with the story of life. What is the purpose and the meaning of life? And so we noticed that magical things happen out of pure randomness, but we can increase the probability that they happen if we put ourselves out there and if we have more of our ideas that can spread. So you really want to have your own little space of the internet that is yours and that can reach out to people, like just make more things. When I started writing online, just random people start sending you messages like, oh, I read this, that's interesting, this or that, and then this stuff just happens. And it's also just really nice to have your own little part of the internet. So build a website. That's the first one. After this, like, scope it down a little bit. If you're overwhelmed, don't set your goals too high, but start from the purpose. So think about what you want your website to do. What do you want people to see, to feel when they're doing it? And when you have that, you can trace back and start designing something that will actually show that will give them the path that they can walk on. Right? So they will have something in their mind. I want to know this about this person, or I want to read this, or I want to do this. Then you just design it and give them the path. Then what else did we have? We have some design fundamentals. So structuring, hierarchy, rhythm, like knowing there's only a few things that need to be important, and then you use color or size or distance to make them stand out from each other. And you take that all together and you build your minimum viable product, because we're doing digital work, and that means that we can change everything later. We can change the features later. We can change the purpose later. We can change the structure later. So just start with your shitty first draft. Make it just in case versus just in time. Yeah, so the just in case thing is how we used to work before, digital work. So like, I will build a website with all these pages just in case someone wants to see one of these things, versus a just in time approach is someone was asking like, hey, didn't you write? And you're like, oh yeah, let's make a blog. Let's add a new page to the site, and then you're done. That's just in case versus just in time. And because we are here in this digital world, we cannot only do this, but it becomes kind of the best way of doing it, because you don't want to waste your time doing useless things. You usually learn more later in time. So maybe you want to do these things later in time, just in time, just as late as possible. So you know the most and you can do the least amount that is actually necessary, because everything can and will change anyways. And so then for the third module, developing, you need a domain name, which is the thing that people type in the bar, and then there's the hosting, which gives you the actual site, the thing to show up. Right? I would recommend, if you haven't chosen yet, just bigwordpress.com. It's an easy choice. They do pretty much anything you want to. Start learning with that, because you get so overwhelmed by all these different tools that there are. I get overwhelmed with them. I start trying out 5 different things and I'm like, I don't like it because nothing is happening. So pick a thing, start building it very, very small, and then change your mind later, restructure it, add other things. So right now it's time for your biggest challenge yet here. I've given you all the tools you need, but now it's your turn. There's nothing more. Like I can tell you, you've become minimally viably competent at this point. So now it's just a question of going out there, starting to build it, starting to fail. Please feel free to reach out with any more questions. Ideally, like record a little video message, like a little Loom, if you do like a screen recording with yourself speaking. That's super easy. Then for next week, either we look at this together, make it unstructured, or if there's very recurring patterns and I can summarize them and teach them to you. I would say I want to challenge you, like, start building today, never leave the scene of a decision without an actual action or something. That was a Tony Robbins joke. So a joke, quote. So you've come here with a dream, and I hope you're leaving with a plan to claim your little piece of cyberspace, a plan to allow yourself to be seen, like really seen, and a plan to let your memes multiply and bump into all kinds of random, beautiful things. Because you're building a website, and this serendipity vehicle is just the start of your next level of evolution. Thank you.
Can we?
It's your turn now, guys. It's your turn. Go make some beautiful shit.
Oh gosh, thank you so much, Dallas. It was just too much. First of all, a screenshot. A must have. A must have. Yeah.
5, 4,
Someone muted me.
3, 2, 1, and smile, guys. Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Quickly, before we left, first of all, that was amazing. It was mind-blowingly value dropping. Just it's I will give you like what, half an hour feedback later. What right now I suggest is to create a community, special, maybe a Notion page or WhatsApp group where we keep each other accountable for building the website. Okay, Marcel, you do the workshop, so you do the group. And everybody here, guys, let's make it like actionable today, by tonight. Okay, we have different time zones, so by your by your tonight, you create and you share with us a Notion page where you state the purpose, the goal, and your strategy. Minimal viable action plan. Okay.
This is great. Thank you.
We don't let it slip, because he gave way too much preparation and way too much value for us to drop it. It's just the minimal thank you we can do for him, Marcel, for your amazing, mind-blowing, absolutely outstanding workshop that was done on fucking time. Is to take action on that. Like, guys, let's be grateful. Let's share it with each other, and clap. Yes. Share your testimonials, your opinion, let's do it not in the main room, but no, let's do it in the main room to make them feel jealous. And we need to copy and paste it to the special group that we'll have specifically for building the dream website, or Marcel, play with the name, okay?